what we're doing is welcome to the meeting with the reporters and editors of the Charleston Gazette-Mail. And what we're going to do is we're filming this to include with our story online so people can watch the whole thing. And we'll introduce ourselves, and then we'll have you introduce yourselves. Then we'll ask for just a real short minute introduction, and then we'll do some questions. So everything's on the record, story tomorrow or the next day, whatever.
Good tomorrow.
And-
Told otherwise.
And I think we're ready. So we'll start down here on the end of the table.
I'm Whitney Burdett. I'm an editorial writer for the Daily Mail opinion page.
Kelly Merritt, Daily Mail opinion page editor.
And I'm Dawn Miller. I'm the Gazette opinion page editor.
Phil Candler, State House reporter.
And here's our photographer back there. So,
Lisa Hernandez.
so let's start with you. Let's start with the incumbent. So tell us who you are and just a minute introduction.
Sure, my name is Chris Walters, born and raised in West Virginia. I'm a state senator, represent the 8th Senatorial District. Family man, I got a wife named Elizabeth. It's funny, I'm a Republican, she's a Democrat. We have two bipartisan babies. We have a 6-year-old and we have a 2-year-old. I own a small business here in Charleston, West Virginia, and it's great. I love it. I love being here. I got a degree in International Studies, West Virginia University, a certificate of completion in International Comparative Economics and International Cultures from Collegium Civitas in Warsaw, Poland. And I came back here because I just want to make this state as great as it can. I see so many of my friends that are not here, and I do anything I can to make this economy better to bring them back.
Okay. Yes, sir.
My name's Glenn Jeffries. I live down in Putnam County in a little community called Red House. Married to my wife, Sherry, of 32 years. I have 2 children, Ashley and Austin. I have 2 grandchildren, Eli and Emma. I'm a business owner in Kanawha, Putnam County. I have multiple businesses. We employ anywhere from 300 to 350 people. I've been able to, with those businesses, be able to put over $200 million of wages and benefits into their pockets. I'm also part owner of the 4 Points by Sheraton here on the Boulevard. It is a $24 million investment that we put into the city of Charleston, me and 4 other partners. And we believe that has helped jumpstart the revitalization of the riverfront. And so the reason that I'm running, I believe I've got a proven track record that I know how to put people to work. I know how to create jobs. And I believe if there's ever been a time in the state of West Virginia that we need business leaders that knows how to put people to work, it is today. And that's the reason I'm running.
Okay. Well, biggest issue on my mind, I think, is the state budget. Shall we start with that? I'm interested in knowing what you'd like to see done, revenue sources, solution. What would be your preferred way to close the budget gap?
You want to start with me?
Sure.
Absolutely. Well, first off, I have to say that in this last legislative session, I believe the Senate led. I believe the Senate had done very well putting together a budget, and we'd done that multiple times. And I was proud to be one of the leaders in the Senate to do that. There's a lot of different ways that we need to look at dealing with this budget. I voted to have the tobacco tax at $1 in the legislative session. And believe that the fact that for every $1 spent on tobacco, it costs the taxpayers and other citizens $4 in healthcare costs. I believe that mitigating the cost of Medicaid and is going to be one of the ways that we can absolutely help with the budget going forward. And I believe that by doing this tobacco tax, it's one of the ways that we did it. I think that we really have to diversify our economy. These last couple of years, I've been the biggest champion in promoting broadband expansion in the state of West Virginia. Had a study put together by West Virginia State University that showed 1 year after the completion of the network built by my bill, it'd create 4,000 permanent jobs and bring over $935 million additional dollars to the GDP of our state. If you look at my track record in the Senate, I think it's second to none in job creation. You look at the Growler legislation that I pushed through. If you look at the outdoor dining legislation that I pushed through. If you look at removing red tape for multiple industries, even in the cosmetology industry, it's been from all forms and all sectors to be able to see our small businesses thrive, our local West Virginia businesses. I think that by investing in them and by doing what we can to let them be successful, we can help close these budget shortfalls.
Thank you. Mr. Jeffries, how do you like the budget?
That's a tough question, and it's going to be tough this next session. But I believe that we're going to have to leave all options open as far as coming up with a revenue source to be able to balance our budget. I do think that one way to help start bringing in a revenue source is jump-starting our economy. And I believe that by jump-starting our economy, and when I say jump-start, I'm talking about with higher education. Everywhere that you look, around all other states, higher education is probably the #1 priority. And we need to be investing in higher education here in the state. Since 2007, we've been cutting higher education, been cutting their budget. You look at North Carolina. I did some research on it at their Triangle Park. They invested billions and billions of dollars into that Triangle Park. And look at it, it has exploded. You look at Marshall University. They did a research project, and that research project was to speed up DNA results. It was successful, and I believe it was called the Vandalia Research Program. So it goes to show you that if we start investing in higher education, it will jumpstart our economy, start bringing in revenue, taxes, and so forth. I'm also working on the University of Charleston project, the Innovation Center. So there you can see they're thinking ahead. And so once that thing is completed, you're going to start seeing research to be able to come into the city of Charleston, into the university, and hopefully there'll be federal and state funding that will hit those that you'll start seeing projects come through. But I believe the main thing that we need to be looking at right now is how do we jumpstart our economy quickly? And when I say quickly, I mean something that is ready to start to move. I sit on the Economic Development Authority in Putnam County, and I see what businesses want to be able to locate here in Putnam County and other counties. We talk with sister counties that are development authorities. It's infrastructure. We're talking about roads, we're talking about water, we're talking about sewer, we're talking about schools. We're talking about how schools are built. They want 21st century schools and with the education level there. And also, as Chris talked about, broadband. They want broadband. But I believe that immediate effect to get revenue in here is jump-starting our economy is within the infrastructure. There is over, and I do sit on a number of other associations and committees. There is over $16 billion of construction that is ready, is waiting on funding. So we need to be looking at some way to come up with some kind of revenue. And I'm not going to say what I think it should be, because I really don't know, because I'm not there now.
Well, that's too bad, 'cause that's going to be my next question.
Yeah. So, but there is going to be a way. We will find a way. I've been doing it for 18 years, finding ways to be able to create jobs, and I believe that if I'm given the chance to do that, we will find some way to jumpstart this economy. So I think that's one way that we can bring in revenue. The other thing is I believe that we need to be looking at how we structure our income tax code. I looked at that and done a little bit of research on it, and it's hard to believe that it's been 30 years since our income tax code's been reformed. We've got a family of 4 that makes $60,000 paying the same percentage as what a multimillionaire is. That's just wrong. So we need to look about reforming our income tax code.
Kelly, I'm inclined to take down some specific taxes, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Before we move on, since we're talking about the budget. So, okay, so you've already supported a higher tobacco tax. I assume that means if an option to vote for more of a tobacco tax increase came along, you'd be...
I'd be amicable to it, absolutely, because it's about It's about somebody shouldering the responsibility for the healthcare they're costing other West Virginians. One of the largest barriers to bringing businesses here is the cost of healthcare in West Virginia. It's one of the highest in the nation. And again, every dollar that they spend on a pack of tobacco costs the other individual in the state of West Virginia $4. I believe they need to bear their responsibility. And that money being directed straight to the Medicaid budget to be able to pay for what they're doing, or other budgets involving healthcare, tobacco cessation, should absolutely be their responsibility. I'm an individual who absolutely believes in self-responsibility.
Okay, good. Tobacco tax?
I believe that not only tobacco tax, I believe that every tax that will be looked at, I think there needs to be a financial study done on it, just to see what the impact will be and see how it will impact the citizens in West Virginia. You know, the tobacco tax, I believe it's got 65 cents on it now, and I think everybody was advocating $1. So, you know, what that 35 more cents will bring, I don't know. I don't know what the physical impact of that would be, but I think that we got to leave all of our options open for this coming year. I mean, this coming session is going to be a very tough session.
Okay. How about some other revenue sources like digital downloads? Somebody brought that up to me once. Do you have any thoughts about whether or not West Virginia could collect a tax on digital downloads?
You know, that is something I'm not very sure about. And you know, taxing whenever it comes to e-commerce is very difficult anyway. I mean, it is a voluntarily thing. You know, I tend to look at the state of West Virginia right now. We're hurting. We're hurting economically. Our state's hurting in business, but also the people of West Virginia are hurting. We have to be cognizant that every single time that we ask to raise taxes, we're asking for West Virginians that are hurting to take more money out of their back pockets and give it to the state. We have to do everything we can to be careful with the way that we're handling our revenue shortfalls the upcoming session.
Okay.
And we have to figure out the way to do it that has the best benefit for the state of West Virginia with the least impact on the citizens of West Virginia.
Okay. Well, we can come back to that. But briefly, digital downloads. Do you have any thoughts about that?
To be honest with you, I have not thought about that, but I believe that, like I said before, I think we're going to have to leave everything open to see what kind of revenue source that we can come up with for our budget and what we need to do to be able to jumpstart our economy.
How about a food tax? Any thoughts, opinions about a food tax?
You know, we had the food tax once before, and the only thing I can say about the food tax is it hurts in low-income individuals, and I'd have to think about that. I'd have to do some more studying on it. As I said before, I want to see what the financial impact would be.
I would not be supportive of food tax.
How about working on the state earned income tax credit?
I think there's another way that we can get to the state income tax credit. I really think, you know, let's talk about the state earned income tax credit. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for our citizens. And the reason why I say that is what you're doing is you're giving extra money to the working individuals in West Virginia who qualify underneath that financial threshold. You have to be a worker in order to earn that income tax. I think that's something that we can give a hand up to our citizens, and it's not giving a handout. I think it's an amazing idea, and I think it's something that could, again, give it to the local West Virginians who are working, and it'll go straight into our local economy. It'll be one of the ways to jumpstart our economy. The problem with it is it costs $42 million, and I've heard numbers north of that as well. I really think that getting there and taking money in a food tax to get there would not be the correct way to do it, because basically you're taking the money out of their pocket and then just handing it back to them.
Right. So is there a way you could figure out how to pay for what you lose if the state did the EITC?
You know, I've got some ideas of other areas that we could access revenue, and I even wrote an op-ed about this. And it looks at the way that we can collect money for our roads, but if we collect more money for our roads, we can offset in other areas. There was a constitutional study that I had done on interstate commerce that talks about the tolling system in the state of West Virginia. Right now, we're putting all the onus of tolls on one region of the state of West Virginia. However, interstate commerce, and Bob Baster's constitutional study has stated that we don't have to collect tolls from West Virginia at the tolls. We could actually do it as a fee at the DMV and give every West Virginian easy pass, and they won't have to pay any tolls at the toll system. And it would pass the Interstate Commerce Clause. By doing that, we wouldn't have to put the onus on one region of the state. We could spread that out, have a smaller number, and we could utilize that type of system to collect revenue where it has the greatest benefit for our citizens and the least impact on their wallets. If you look at the roads that are being tolled, excuse me, you see where it's 87% paid for by out of state. 87%. If you look at Interstate 81 in the Eastern Panhandle, which has 250,000 cars go through there every single day, that's close to 98% paid for by out of state. It could pay for our entire road system and have the least impact on the citizens of West Virginia. And you won't have to put the whole onus on that region alone. That's a piece of legislation I've been working on to fix the entire road issue in the state of West Virginia.
Okay.
And it's something that, once we fix that, we can take monies that are designated towards that and use it to do other things. And the bonding that's opened up. You want to jumpstart the economy, this would do it.
So how do you grandfather in anyone?
Well, Phil, that's a great question. And part of the federal dicta is you can use tolls for expansion, for widening, for, you see it where they talk about widening a bridge and moving it in different areas. You can use tolls to help pay for that. Once they're on, they can stay on indefinitely. That's how you do it, Phil. You use those widening projects, improvement projects, put them on, and then you start collecting the money. And you don't put the onus on West Virginians because it's not. It's a very small fee compared to what it is out of state. And it brings in hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars, not on the backs of our citizens.
Earned income tax credit? Anything?
I would be for it, and we would have to look for a source of revenue to be able to pay for that. And tolls may be the route to go, to come up with. And like I said before, I believe that we're going to have to leave every option open. I don't have the magic bullet for that, and I don't think anybody has the magic bullet for it. So I think that we got to leave every option open. But the income tax, or the earned income tax credit, I believe would help those individuals. I believe it's for someone who makes $20,000 and below, I believe. Is that correct? I think. So it would put money back into their pockets, and they would it would be reinvested back into our state.
Okay. What else do you guys want to talk about?
Mr. Jeffries, you're a business owner, evidently pretty good sized business owner. What are the numbers you said you put in, how much payroll you paid people?
It's over $200 million.
And did you say you had 300 employees, or you employed 300?
It fluctuates. It'll fluctuate between 300, 350. At one time, we had 368 people working. But we have other businesses now that it multiplies. It just fluctuates from day to day.
So, as a business owner in West Virginia, doing business in West Virginia, tell us what it's like what are the barriers, what are the restrictions, what's good, what's positive about dealing with state government and tax structure and so on. And does West Virginia have a bad business climate? It seems like you've got the experience that a lot of people don't have. And you can talk about West Virginia's business climate and what can the state do, what can legislators, specifically legislature, do to make the business climate better so we have more business owners in West Virginia.
We do have, sitting on the Economic Development Board, like I say, I sit on the Operations Committee, and I get to see what the businesses want to locate here. We talk about it, and as far as business tax, it's hardly ever even mentioned talking about business tax. Very, 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 very. From a business owner standpoint, it's been good for companies here in West Virginia. It's been good for business owners. I know that small business is one thing that we probably need to be looking at, being able to help them jumpstart their businesses. and whether that is coming up with some kind of a tax credit for them for the first year, second year, whatever it may be. That's one thing that we probably should be looking at, because there is a lot of people around here that like to start small businesses, especially here in Charleston. So we got to give those opportunities for those people to be able to do that. And as far as for me as a business owner here in Charleston and in Putnam County, throughout the state of West Virginia, we work throughout the state of West Virginia. The climate has, business-wise, has been good. There's been some changes in the past 2 years that has made a difference in our business structure. We're having to relook at how we do business. When they repealed prevailing wage and passed right to work, it's basically changed the whole ballgame here in the state of West Virginia. So what that impact's going to be, I don't know. It's like with prevailing wage. We had a resolution to be able to see what the impact was going to be, and our legislative leadership decided that they weren't going to do it. It was in place for 2 months, and then they decided they were going to get rid of it. So we had no idea what was going to happen with that. Prevailing wage is very important in the state of West Virginia. It provides a livable wage. It provides where a person can have health insurance, they can have a pension plan. They're not having to get onto the government system as far as getting health insurance. And it's good for the economy here. Make a livable wage where they reinvest back into our economy. And with right to work, like I say, setting on a number of associations, right to work has never ever came up, keeping the business from being able to locate here in the state of West Virginia. It's everywhere that I've researched that I've done, I've seen where it does not provide any job growth. It lowers the workforce skills. It reduces safety, the safety training that's done, and it does, whether we like it or not, it weakens the unions, which in turn, when it weakens the unions, it weakens wages. You start taking wages out of West Virginia working people.
I'll gladly answer your question, being a business owner in the state of West Virginia. Every single time I turn around, it seems like they've made up some new fee that I have to pay as a business owner. My internet's unreliable. It's very difficult. It's considerably difficult because a lot of my business is done online. And my internet or phone system could drop at any single time. And that's to do with the fact that we have some of the worst technology whenever it comes to infrastructure in the United States. Well, 2 years ago, we were ranked 51st behind American Samoa whenever it came to broadband technology in West Virginia. 51st. I mean, 2 years ago, we were behind Guam and Puerto Rico in broadband connectivity at 52nd. We're now 48th, and people are expecting us to cheer and be happy about that. And that's the argument, hey, we've moved up. You know what? It's not. To me, there's so much more the state could be doing for business. So much more. And it really takes the type of investments that I put forward in the legislature. I've put forward this broadband bill, and I keep going back to it, but I'll tell you, we talk about wanting to jumpstart the economy. There is nothing that will jumpstart West Virginia's economy, unlike the legislation I put forward. Nothing. There is no piece of legislation that can prove, year one, after an economic study was done, year one after completion, that would create 4,000 permanent jobs and bring $935 million additional dollars to our GDP. I've worked for these solutions. I've done everything I can to create competition in West Virginia. If you look at app developers, Apple puts out a list of the states that get paid the most and the least for app development. It's not a hard guess where West Virginia falls. We're 50th. You know what that shows? That shows that people can't start that small business in their garage at home anymore because they don't have the tools to do it. It affects education. If you look at West Virginia, if you have a snow day in certain parts of the state, you can do the Blackboard at home and be able to get online and not miss that day of school. Most of the state can't do that. We're in violation of the REC decision and the fact that we can't provide an equal opportunity in education for every one of our students because they don't have those same tools and opportunities. We have the largest homework gap in the United States. It's when a kid goes home and can't get the internet to do his homework. We have the largest one. I've been trying to teach people in the building. I've been doing everything I can. I fought to get the bill through the Senate, and I did successfully this year. And it's continuing to move. And we're going to move our state forward. Kicking and crying, we're going to move this state forward. We're going to be #1 in broadband connectivity whenever this piece of legislation goes through. We're going to have the fastest, most affordable, most reliable fiber optic interstate in the country. We're going to be able to look at businesses, look them in the eye and say, not only do we have some of the greatest workforce in the United States, some of the lowest energy costs, some of the lowest real estate taxes, some of the lowest land costs, but we have the fastest, most affordable fiber optic infrastructure in the country. That's what it takes to do a 21st century economy. And I'm doing everything I can to get West Virginia there. And I'm going to keep doing it because that will help all the businesses here in West Virginia, and that will help all the businesses that are going to come here and create jobs. That's what a small business owner deals with. We deal with unreliable connectivity in a 21st century economy. We deal with fees that we feel like are made up sometimes because they come in all the time. I'm a small business. It's tough to succeed as a small business. It's tough. It's tough every day. But you know what? I wouldn't do it anywhere else in the world. I love this place. I love the people of West Virginia. And I love the chance to represent them in the Senate.
I don't know. Go ahead.
So do you agree with Mr. Jeffries on right to work and prevailing wage as being deterrents to economic development?
No, I don't agree with my opponent on that. You know, I tell you, to tell somebody that does not want to be in an association that does not have to represent them, to tell them that they have to have money taken out of their back pocket when they don't want to be a part of that, I'm sorry, that's very unfair to that individual. I think that individual deserves the right to choose that if he doesn't want to be a part of a group, that he shouldn't be forced to have his hard-earned money go to it when that group is not forced to represent him. I don't see how that's fair to the worker. You can throw out propaganda from both sides on that right to work issue. Throw it out and look at what the actual bill does. It says that if an individual does not want to be a part of an association, and that association does not have to represent him, then he shouldn't be forced to pay money to it. I don't see what's wrong with that. I don't see how it's right to take money out of somebody's pocket forcibly when they're not forced to be represented by that organization. And that organization is not forced to represent them. I don't think that's fair. And that's why I voted for right to work. Prevailing wage. Let's talk about what prevailing wage did. Sissonville was not going to have fire protection. They were not going to be able to finish their volunteer fire department to protect their citizens because of the costs inflated on them by prevailing wage. I'm for protecting my citizens of West Virginia and making their dollars go further. And this is proven to do it. The Daily Athenaeum put out an article showing that in Morgantown, they had $1 million additional to be used for paving jobs because of what we did in the legislature. $1 million additional for infrastructure. We mentioned that that's one of the ways to put our economy back to work. Well, there's more money. It's the right thing to do for the taxpayers of West Virginia, not just for a select few. It's for the taxpayers. We have to be stewards of their money, and we were. What we have always done in this state has not worked. Why on earth do we want to go back to that? Why? It wasn't rosy back then, and you tell you something. If we keep pushing forward and we keep working with the ideas that I've brought to the table, our state has a lot of opportunity moving forward. And I can't wait. I love this state. I love its potential.
Let me get back to the broadband bill. I mean, your bill, as I recall, and obviously I don't know the specifics of it, not that well versed as you, obviously, but it was pretty big investment in government money. And I think, wasn't that one of the criticisms of it? States shouldn't be investing this in the broadband internet providers be investing in.
That's absolutely one of the criticisms of it. To build 2,500 miles of broadband fiber cost $78 million. Let me put that in perspective. To build 2 miles of interstate cost $80 million. So there's kind of a good infrastructure to infrastructure cost comparison. That's $78 million. We had it in the bill that the health departments of West Virginia, which every single city in the state is considered rural except for Charleston, would apply for grants for expansion of telemedicine. There's $200 million available for telemedicine grants currently. And every single area, every single county in the state of West Virginia is eligible for it. Virginia has the largest homework gap in the nation, which I mentioned earlier. The Board of Education, the Federal Department of Education has hundreds of millions of dollars of grants to close that. And then lastly, one of the other parts of the bill was performance bonds. If we can prove that the system being built would make money, if it can be proven, it gets a bond and the system pays for itself. If it cannot be proven, it doesn't get built. $0 from general revenue, $0 from rainy day, nothing. The maintenance would be leasing the lines and being upkept by leasing them to the providers at a very low cost. You know, if we're ever going to get internet out to those rural communities, we have to build the interstate to get it there. Because if you're a provider and you're going from, I don't know, Charleston to Marlington, how many homes are you getting on the way? You're not hitting many at all. That cost has to be shared. We've already subsidized the systems that are in place, and they're not good systems. Taxpayers did. The Bell Atlantic phone extension, those copper lines. It's what Verizon went off of, that's what Frontier bought. We paid for that. And they're the only ones that can use it. We paid for a monopoly. And I'm trying to break it. And I'm one of the few people in the state that will stand up to do it. One of the few.
Why now? You're a business owner, you've been in business for quite a while, you've been active in the community for quite a while. What made you decide to run for state senate this election?
Well, if I could, I'd like to back up to
Go right
what
ahead.
Chris had just talked about on the prevailing wage part. I've always been a proponent of prevailing wage because it provides good wages for livable wages. They don't get rich off of it. It's livable wages. You know, families are that live here in the state. They've got a house payment, car payment, insurance payment, college, and so forth. It provides a wage for them to be able to live every day. You know, one thing that he talked about, and I want to kind of get this set straight on here about the, you know, that Morgantown project. Every project that's, and being in the business, every project that ever comes out for bid, it is either an engineer or an architect that puts the money in there for it, that puts a cost in there for it. And they always put more money, they always try to. Some of them are successful at it and some of them are not. They always try to put more money into a project and make sure that they don't have to come back and ask for more money. I know from the private sector, same thing here. When we bought that hotel, we did a budget and we made sure that we had enough money before we went to the bank to be able to get it, because we didn't have to go back to the bank. But to say that they saved $1 million, I really kind of find that hard to believe, because they've always been saying that prevailing wage was 30%, added 30% to a job cost. So if you take, the city had bought the material, which was $800,000. The project came in at 1.4, which left $600,000 in labor. If you put 30% on top of that, it's $180,000, which is $1.5 million. So I don't see where there was $1 million in savings there. You know, I can take you to other projects, because I look at them and I see them. We can go down to Wayne County. There was just a project that was bid down there 2 months ago. The low bidder was Swope Construction. They were like $1,020,000. Second bidder was EP Leach, that pays wages that is comparable to prevailing wage. He was $1,050,000. So that's only $30,000 difference. Where's the $300,000 difference? So what's happening? We see other projects. We went through a period there where we didn't have any prevailing wage. We had one contractor that had 2 projects. One had prevailing wage and one did not have prevailing wage. There was a $1.26 a square foot difference in the cost between them 2 projects. And the reason it was a little bit higher is because it was out in a rural area. Prevailing wages was paid on that project. The one that was close to the interstate was not paid. and the workers were paid 30% less than what prevailing wage rates would have been for that area. So we're getting, where's the savings that we're supposed to be giving to the taxpayers? I haven't seen it yet. I haven't experienced it yet. What I believe is that the West Virginia working people, they're getting cut in their wages, and I don't know how they can stimulate the economy when you don't have money to be able to spend. Now, you asked me about
Why'd you run into the
why I'm running.
Right.
I believe that, as I said before, if there's ever been a time in the state of West Virginia that we need people in there that knows how to create work, knows how to get people to work, knows how to get them the training that they need to be able to get out into the workforce. I've done it. I've been doing it for 18 years. I went from 2 people up to 350 people. And I believe that this next current this legislative body that will be in place, they're going to have to be thinking about how they can be able to jumpstart the economy, how to be able to put people to work. As I said before, I'm not discounting the broadband. It is important, but we need to be looking at our infrastructure, our roads, water, sewer, schools, and so forth. We got things that are ready. We just got to be able to have the right people in place to come up with whatever funding it's going to be able to take. You start putting funding in infrastructure projects. I mean, you're looking at, I've seen one study there that a certain amount of money put in infrastructure projects, you're talking about putting 20 to 25,000 people to work. So I've been doing it, and that's why I'm running, because I believe I can bring what experience that I do have to the legislature and start moving this step forward.
Okay, how about marijuana? Any thoughts on legalization of marijuana, whether it's medical or commercial, recreational, whatever you call it? Who wants to go first? Go ahead.
I support medical marijuana.
Okay. Anything you want to expound on?
We have an opioid problem in this state, and it's something that has been proven to help with pain, and it's very compassionate when it comes to people with cancer. If you remember during the legislative session, there was a delegate that stood up and gave a speech, a very powerful speech. His speech echoed through the whole halls of the legislature, and his story is one that really weighed on a lot of individuals. And I'll tell you, we're fighting a war that we can't win. And that's why I believe that not only giving doctors every tool that they can have is the correct thing to do, but also instead of prescribing somebody Oxycontins or painkillers, prescribing them something that they don't have to smoke, but instead they can have in other forms that's not addictive and not as harmful to the body. I don't see why we should cap doctors on that.
But I assume from your answer, you don't go so far as to say recreational marijuana or marijuana for exercise.
I will say that we're in a situation where that needs to be given serious consideration. And I say that because we're spending tons of money. We are filling our jails tremendously. It's not going to be a golden bullet that's going to save our economy. But then again, whenever you do legalize medical, you decriminalize. And that comes with every single state. Whenever you do medical marijuana legalization, you decriminalize. So what we need to do is we need to be able to make sure that whatever is going to be out there needs to be more safe, because you see the deaths, you see the overdoses on types of drugs that are laced, and that it's really killing our children. So we have to be cognizant of what other ways and opportunities we have to be able to fight the drug war. And we shouldn't close our minds completely to that, but then again, I want to get more information from other states, and I also want to know if we do legalize it, and the federal government decides, since it is federally illegal, if the federal government decides to enforce that, what are we doing to our citizens? There's a lot of questions that do have to be answered. So we do need to be open and cognizant to the idea.
The medical marijuana, I would vote for. People that went through cancer treatments, the research that I've seen on it, it does, for some individuals, it would help them. I've actually experienced it, not me personally, but within my family. I've had 3 individuals that had went through cancer treatments. I've seen the pain with some of them, and as the medication that they would have to take is addicting. We need to keep it get rid of these opioids that people are being hooked to. So I would vote for medical marijuana, just for the fact that there is other research that's been done that it can help other people with PSTD, autism is another. I've talked with several doctors about how it can help the oils, like cannabis. And so I believe that we need to look into it, and I kind of agree with what Chris is talking about. We cannot be continuing to hampering what the doctors, the advice that they give. So I'd vote for it.
Any other kinds of marijuana would you support, recreational?
That one's still up in the air for me. I haven't done the research on the recreational part of it. There has been a lot of talk that, it's another revenue source, but I'd like to see, I want to know what the financial impact of that would be, because having that changes a lot of things here in the state of West Virginia, especially from as far as the mining industry. I don't want somebody 6 stories up walking out on a beam. So that's still up in the air for me on that.
Both of you mentioned opioids. What's the legislature's role in fighting against the opioid epidemic that we've been seeing statewide?
Okay.
Senator Walker.
Absolutely. I'm working on a piece of legislation right now. And what it does is, one of the biggest things we're seeing a lot of theft to help pay for these opioids. We're seeing a lot of individuals, families, losing some of their treasured possessions. And what happens is when those items are stolen, they're taken to a pawn shop. And we have so many. I remember whenever a ring that I got for my wife was stolen. Couldn't find it. Went pawn shop looking, trying to find it, went area to area looking. So what I want to do is I want to create a requirement that when items are bought at a pawn shop, they have to post those items online during the holding period, which is 10 days, at a centralized website by county. So if you are missing an item or something is stolen from you, the person, you can go online and hopefully get reunited with what has been taken from you. It will also, on the other hand, have some pawn shops become more scrupulous whenever they're trying to purchase items. If we can cut the money that goes towards buying these drugs, maybe we can make West Virginia less of an attractive state to sell them in. That's absolutely one way I would start with the issue. Another way is continuing for getting rehab, recovery in West Virginia. I've been a very big advocate in trying to look at what's called medical loss ratios in our state. If you look at what those are, it states that for every $100 spent on health care, a certain percentage of that has to be spent on actual services, and the rest can be taken as profits by the medical companies, by the HMOs. Well, in West Virginia, we were averaging 79. So for every $100, $79 would go to health care, and the remainder would go to the HMOs. Other states average between 90 and 95, and they have requirements saying it needs to be at 90 or 95. Our DHHR just set it at 85. That is extremely low. I think by requiring the medical loss ratio to be 90, 92, 95 even, we would see a huge influx of money available for treatment and other type of healthcare options in the state of West Virginia with no additional cost on our citizens. None. We're already paying that money. Those administrative and those profits are already being taken at those levels in other states, and they're there, and they're overwhelmingly there, and they're successful. A lot of groups are competing to be HMOs in the state of West Virginia because of our population. There wouldn't be even fear about losing business here. We'd be able to provide better health care for our citizens. Another thing I did was I was a leader on juvenile justice in the state of West Virginia. We institutionalized more youth than any state in the United States per capita at a cost of $109,000 per year per child. I helped with writing the bill to do wraparound services, because when you send this child far away and then bring them back to a family that's still addicted to drugs, you aren't fixing the situation. You're just giving them a small window vacation away from the drug-infested situation they've been in, and you're bringing them right back to that area. Those wraparound services will treat the whole family. We'll treat the child, we'll keep them in a community with their churches and their loved ones, save the state money, and use more money to reinvest to help everyone and to help cure the drug issue. I've done a lot whenever it comes to fighting the drug issue, and I'm going to continue to do so. And I'm working on legislation moving forward to do so. I've worked with our behavioral health centers to learn more what we could do. And tomorrow I get to be with them as they'll be working with me on substance abuse in a meeting we're having up in Kingwood. I tell you, I continuously have been working on this issue, and I'm very proud of some of the legislations we passed, working with other doctors in the legislature to try to help it.
Mr. Jeffries?
Opioid abuse is huge, especially here in the state of West Virginia and across the country. I believe that it will not be too much longer before just about everyone here in the state of West Virginia is going to be affected by some kind of drug abuse, whether it's opioids or whatever it may be. And we do need treatment. We need more treatment facilities. I think right now we've got 13 treatment facilities here in the state. They're 90-day, they call them long-term 90-day facilities. I don't think that's long enough. We need to look and see what we need to do about those type of programs. But also, once they go through those programs, we need to be able to be creating opportunities for them to be able to get back out into the workforce. That's either coming up with some kind of a program that encourages employers to be able to bring them back into the workforce, whatever it may be. But a person that has went through substance abuse, it's a horrible thing. I have been working in the community here in Charleston. There is a couple of programs that are in place. One of them is called Hope for Appalachia. And I met the other day with two individuals that was in that program. And just to hear their story is just horrifying. One of them was he started when he was 14 years old. Florida Peel Mill. Drugs coming in left and right. The other one was involved in the Detroit drug mill, the guns for drug trade. It is hard for them. Going to these facilities for 90 days, I don't think is enough based upon the information that they tell me and I've talked with them about. So we need to come up with better programs here in the state, more treatment facilities to get them off of it. And how we stop it, I mean, that's like the Guns for Trade program. I mean, Guns for Trade, that right there really concerns me. We've got people from Detroit coming down, bringing their guns, trading for drugs. Why is that happening? I have a good idea why it's happened, why it has happened, especially here in Charleston. You know, in 2014, there was legislation that was passed and stripped away the ordinances from the city to be able to limit, I believe, maybe the amount of handguns that could be purchased. It's not taken away, it's just limited. Now it's wide open where they can purchase, you know, whatever they want, and that's the reason they come into this city to be able to get what they want, to take it back to Detroit. So, you know, that legislation, if we would listen to our police officers and start thinking about the safety of the people here in Charleston, you know, that legislation opened up the door where you could take a gun into a daycare center, and you could take it into a community center. That, to me, was bad. I am a Second Amendment guy, but I'm also a smart Second Amendment guy. So that's, you know, what I think that we should be looking at as far as trying to help people get the treatment that they need.